if you could change the way that security teams or organizations as a whole approach security, like how would you change the mindset?
I would simplify it. I spent a lot of time doing incident response. So I spent a lot of time writing postmortems, which means I spent a lot of time going like, how did this breach happen? And in the majority of cases, if not all, an identity was stolen, a vulnerability was used, and like it slipped some kind of detection and response effort. And so when I think about that, I go, well, then if every incident needs to have an identity stolen, then the most important thing I should probably protect is identity. And when I think about that, I would go down to like get to this most phishing-resistant authentication I can, which at now is WebAuthn. And I would really focus on locking down identity and access and having an understanding because that limits lateral movement. That's the other thing I realized. In every incident, nobody lands on the system they want to. They land on that system that they get, and then they move to the system they want. So if you can restrict lateral movement requires either identity or it requires a vulnerability. So the thing that everybody likes to complain about is like, I'm a firm believer in patch everything. Now, for a couple of reasons. One, I think if you can't patch everything, it means you have an infrastructure problem. You have a resiliency problem. But two, it's just easier. But it also then makes an attacker go, well, if I can't move easily with identity and I need to use a vulnerability and there isn't one because things are patched, I now have to use some kind of zero-day or unknown thing. Great, let's do that. And then last, I would focus on detection and response. So I would really simplifying it is like focus on identity, focus on vulnerability management, focus on detection and response. Even when I think about focusing on detection and response, I tell teams to focus on response before detection because everybody actually has a great detector out there. It works. And it's called the Secret Service and the FBI, and they call you when something is wrong. And then you have to know what to do. So if that detector goes off and you don't have a response, you have a bigger problem. And so really focusing on like, what do you do if any of these happen? I think people need to simplify. I think there's a lot of things that people like pay attention to, but I think if you can limit lateral movement by focusing on identity and vulnerability management and then have a great DNR team for anything that times that fails, you're well on your way to making not only attackers leave you alone, but red teams cry.